This is Louis, and this is going to be an advertisement at the beginning of my hour-long video where I tell you, the listener, to head on over to Play Asia and pick yourself up something nice, something like Persona 5. You can hear the soundtrack to The Second Palace right now, faintly. And the reason why, I don't want to get a copyright strike. Hey, I haven't beat the game yet. It's good. And if you actually beat it before me, that makes you technically better than I am. So pick it up today using my affiliate link below. While you're over there, have a look at this statuette of a cat girl. I'll have you know that this statue is legal, my friend. Legal. If you're not interested in any of these things because you're a faggot. Why don't you head on over to J-List and pick yourself something up over there. There's all sorts of, goodies over there, but if you're not interested in any goodies, if you don't want to buy anything except for buy me, like you would buy a politician, I'm sorry, I mean free speech, my ass. Why don't you head on over to my Patreon account and free speech me some of those greenbacks you got, or whatever fucking funny money monopoly money that your country actually has. It is shit in comparison to the almighty dollar. My name is Ben Shapiro, and the dollar is my Christ and Savior. As always, the links are in the description.
So this is Louis, and I'm working a short case today, thankfully. I need a coffee. I've been drinking green tea, and I did get 7 hours of sleep, but I need a coffee. So this is going to be a segment that is unscripted, in which you're going to have to keep in mind, yeah, he sounds like he needs a coffee, and I do need a coffee to help me wake up. And I'm currently sitting in what I consider to be the post-apocalyptic part of Buffalo, which is the first residential neighborhood that's closest to downtown Buffalo. And the reason I call it that is because it's full of like old abandoned buildings. Like I'm sitting next to an old abandoned church that's overgrown, and it's got like a rickety fence and it's all overgrown. There's houses in that, but it's mainly empty lots, old ass buildings that are overgrown, but not a lot of people. So there's not a lot of gangs. It's basically like the gangs killed each other and then everybody's dead. So you're sitting here, and there's not a whole lot of people here. So there's not a whole lot of reason to be afraid. You know, it's the post-apocalypse, and there's nobody. It's just you. So it's not very scary. Is there people around that are kind of sketchy? Yeah. You know, there's some sketchy people around still. But in large part, it's not that bad. It's not that bad of an area, at least in terms of sketchy people. It's still kind of a shitty area. But not that bad. Anyways, let's get to this video. I want to talk about Bill Maher. Now, there's a lot I could say about this segment. It actually provokes a lot of things in my mind related to American politics, revolving around the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and everything that's going on. This provokes a lot out of me. And I went 30 minutes in my previous take where I wasn't even a minute in, and I was like, I got to redo this because there's so much wrong with this segment. There's just so much wrong with this segment. And I'm going to have to skip a few things. I went in to talk about the objectivists that are in the United States that I don't like, that are self-described, such as S.E. Cupp, who's on this panel, Paul Ryan, who is not mentioned in this, but is another example of someone who projects himself as an objectivist, but is basically the worst form of it, where he doesn't actually pretend to be a principled individualist. He's just a self-interested con artist. Like, he is the same person that if we were in ancient Greece would be a rhetorician. Just walking around trying to use charm and rhetoric to win arguments and get money. That's S.E. Cupp, who is a fucking professional chameleon, and Paul Ryan, who is just an establishment figure that pretends to have principles but is otherwise just an objectivist in the fact that he is just a chameleon for money. That is all he's about. He's not actually a super principled individualist or conservative. No, he is just a chameleon. He is the worst case politician. Minimum amount of charm, good at rhetoric, and people just keep voting for him. There's probably more than just Ryan and Cupp that I could give examples for, but it's just, they're glaring, and I hate S.E. Cupp. I hate her so much. I wish she would disappear from the spotlight forever, but so long as she's going to show up and fillet Bill Maher and not object to anything he says, she's going to keep showing up in a stupid show. Which brings me into the second part of, the preface to this video, in that Bill Maher used to be a guy that I had respect for and that I agreed with. It was often the case that I would agree with Bill Maher, and I'd like to, hear what he had to say 70% of the time. More times than not, he was offering a good argument, an honest argument, and something that I ultimately agreed with. And where that changed was I believe in 2014, when he gave Barack Obama, a super PAC of his, $1 million of his own personal money. After that point, he got worse and worse and worse and worse, up until the moment he became a professional shill for the Democratic Party. And I mean not a defender of liberalism or of leftism or of a certain brand, a certain iteration of an ideology. It is just blue team. It is just, I defend Democratic Party. It is the worst case of being a shill. You're not a shill of conservatism. You're not a shill of classical liberalism. You're not a shill for objectivism or a certain ideology. You are a shill for a fucking party. That is the most pathetic form of shill that I believe that one can be. Because it ultimately makes you a dishonest actor. I have met so many red team Republican shills and blue team Democratic shills who are just fundamentally fucking dishonest people. Anytime you get into the topic of politics, they are just immediately dishonest with you. And the reason why that's a bad thing to be is not only that it makes you dishonest, just naturally, but it ruins arguments. Like, you know how you cement me in being a leftist or being center-left or being a liberal is you're a dishonest conservative or Republican. If you want me to remain on the left, if you want me to remain a liberal or a registered Democrat, lie to me. Brazenly lie to me. That's how you keep me in that camp. That's how you keep me Team Blue, is that you are a lying member of Team Red. It's one of the worst things that I can't stand. I hate partisan Democrats. I hate partisan Republicans because they just lie. And you are not convincing anyone of anything when you just lie constantly. And my stomach is gurgling. I'm getting so upset by this, I'm getting hungry. My stomach is gurgling. That is how much I can't stand partisans. Lying partisans. So Bill Maher became a partisan when he had Barack Obama on his show. Right after that, he became the biggest dick sucker of the Democratic Party that you can find on HBO, even compared to the British guy that was on The Daily Show and Samantha Bee and blah, blah, blah. Or no, she's on TBS. Whatever. All the other fucking dick suckers. The shills that are out there. The so-called comedians that are out there shilling for a fucking party. Wow. Such comedy. Much comedy. Yeah, he became a shill. He became a hack. He became a liar for a party. And it's pathetic. I disagree with him more now than I agree with him. And it used to be the opposite of that. I used to like Bill Maher, have respect for Bill Maher, agree with him all the time. I don't agree with him practically at all anymore. He's become terrible. Once in a while, he'll say something about Islam or free speech or fucking whatever, and his audience won't respond to it, and you'll just look around like, oh, this audience, these liberals don't respond. They are partisans like you fucking dummy. They're not liberals. They're not. They're just partisans. They're partisan leftists. They don't give a god. They don't have any principles. They don't give a goddamn about free speech so long as it doesn't serve them. That's the whole problem with the modern left, is that they have no principles of any kind. They're just a tribe who have goals. Anyways, let's get to this fucking video.
And finally, new rule. Someone has to tell me why all the best voices speaking out against Republicans are Republicans. Nicole Wallace, Steve Schmidt, Rick Wilson, George Will, Brett Stevens, Joe Scarborough, Richard Painter, Michael Steele, Jennifer Rubin, David Jolly, Anna Navarro, Max Boot, David Frum. They're the ones who are out there with the gloves off, landing head punches.
What a fucking list, ladies and gentlemen. David Frum, Bill Kristol. Actually, he didn't say Bill Kristol, did he? Max Boot, I know, is another one. These guys are just internationalist neocons. These are the kind of conservatives that I wish would leave the Republican Party. I can't stand conservatives like this. I can't stand conservatives that are neocons and internationalists. I hate them. I hate their politics. I hate their beliefs. I hate their policies. I hate their false, polite rhetoric. I can't stand them. And I know many conservatives and Republicans, even in my own personal life, people that I know that are conservatives, that fucking hate these kind of guys. These erudite, super upper middle class, so-called intellectuals that are on think tanks and that write op-eds and all this shit. Like, they hate them. They're elitists, one. But they're also internationalists. And I align, and I agree, more than I disagree, with nationalist conservatives, nationalist Republicans. I find them, even the more, basic versions of them, boomer versions of them, I find that they get it, even though they can't exactly express, what they believe in a very articulate manner oftentimes. And you can say that about anybody, and just, basic people that have politics, regardless of which side. They're not articulate because it's not, public speaking isn't part of daily life for them, and they're boomers oftentimes. But they understand things. They get things. They get, like, for example, social cohesion, national borders, national sovereignty. They get many things that are important for people to fully understand in order to be competent citizens. Citizens that have civics in mind. People that respect and understand the consequences of civil liberties and any, anyone offering rhetoric to remove them. They get why that's an awful thing. Even though they can't always articulate it perfectly for why they believe what they believe, they are not dangerous people. They are well within the boundaries of the U.S. Constitutions, and oftentimes they are defenders of it. These are competent citizens, citizens that I want more of and to be around me, even though we might disagree on Christianity and, abortion and other such social issues and, and the queers and all that sort of thing. They're not dangerous people. In terms of their ideology, in terms of what they believe, in terms of their politics, they're not dangerous people. And we need more of them. We need less socialists, whether they're radical or democratic. We need less socialists and less internationalists and more nationalists, more civil libertarians, more constitutionalists. We need more people that are defenders of the boundaries of our society and constitution, not those that want to overthrow our constitution and culture and society. We need less people like that because they are, in fact, dangerous. They conflate social cohesion with the power of nationalist sentiment, and they are internationalists. Nationalists believe, and constitutionalists and the rest believe, liberals believe, that it is more important to be free than it is to make money. Doesn't mean that you don't believe in capitalism, but morality-wise, you believe it is more important to be free than it is for someone to be making money. And internationalists and capitalists, I find, how I describe capitalists, investors, they believe it is more important and more moral to be able to make money than it is for anyone else to be actually free. They don't give a goddamn about civil liberties and freedom. They don't care, so long as they can make money. And that's why they're trying to just invest in Vietnam and invest in China so that they can enrich the governments there that are communist and oppressive and totalitarian and oppress their people. They don't care if their people are free. It's a benefit to them. That's labor they can exploit because they can buy the party officials. They can buy the government. They can exploit that cheap labor. That is what's happened in China. They went out there saying, oh, if we invest in China, it's going to liberalize them. Didn't happen. The opposite happened. And people can keep coming to me and saying that, oh, don't worry, Louis. Don't worry. Down the road, Louis. Down the road, it's going to happen. They're going to become liberal. It's going to be just like Kentucky. Just like North Dakota. It's going to be just like Utah. No, it ain't. Fuck off. Anyways, so these people believe that it is more immoral to be able to make money than it is to be free, and I believe the opposite. And we have mutually exclusive, antithetical beliefs, antithetical morality. And I am not moving an inch from my position because I have not been shown any reason why national sovereignty, even I'll say tariffs, protectionist policy, social cohesion, and not completely dismembering, a national culture or a national identity, why that is a bad thing. Explain to me why these things are bad things. I've yet to meet an internationalist that was even honest, let alone one that could defend their beliefs and their morality, their whacked fucking morality, let alone undermine what I believe, somehow argue against it. I've yet to meet fucking one. It's cheap iPhones, self-interest and shit, and I'm not on board. Oh man, Louis, you can just trade in the First Amendment, your free speech, for a new and cheap iPhone. I'm not doing it. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if I make money or if I can buy cheaper goods, if I gotta remove my own rights. Fuck that. You're ridiculous. Go away. Please leave. David Frum, Bill Kristol, all these other cocksuckers. We're gonna move overseas. Do it! Please, I'll pay you. Get the fuck out of this country, man. You are terrible. And please, by all means, leave the Republican Party. Strengthen the Republican Party. Make it better. Make it a party that I can like and maybe potentially vote for. Get out of the Republican Party. You are fucking cancer. And that's what I need to hear more conservatives saying. I need to hear more and more conservatives, more and more Republicans saying overtly, Bill Kristol, David Frum, all these other fucking cocksuckers who are out there just shilling for the Democratic Party at this point, by the way, tell them to leave your party. Tell them to leave. Tell them to get out. Disown them. Excommunicate them from your side. And I guarantee you in the long run, you will benefit from it. I'm telling you, if you excommunicate these people, you will benefit from them. Go to the Rust Belt. Go to blue-collar workers. Go to middle-class and working-class Americans who are typically middle of the road or don't have very advanced politics oftentimes, and just showcase to them that you are not erudite, think tank, elitist cocksuckers. That you are, in fact, patriotic Americans. You're proud to be American, you stand for America, and you're defending American economics, American interests, American foreign policy, and American culture. Go down the line. You're a defender of all of it, and that's what you stand for, and you will win votes. You will win hearts, you will change minds, you will win elections, and you will hold a majority in all the places that matter, okay? You will win, and this erudite, elitist shit, this think tank Republican shit, this internationalist, conservative, and neoconservative branded politics is a fucking loser, first and foremost, and it's also, in my opinion, fucking immoral. So get rid of it. Chuck it out. Do yourself a fucking favor.
Even Trump's own people tear him down better than any Democrat. McMaster called him a dope. Mattis, a fifth grader. Steve Mnuchin, idiot.
So I'm just going to skip this next segment because, for one, I've been going on for too long now. But two, he can't even attribute half of these quotes, or even more, to an actual source. They're all anonymous. Half of these, if not more than half, are just based on anonymous sources. These people have flat out said, I didn't say that. Maybe McMaster and a couple others who are lunatics. And by the way, McMaster was one of the good people to go from the administration, as far as I can tell. He was a fucking lunatic and a fucking cuck for Islam. And I'm sorry, but what's the whole point of having people that are shills for Islam in our government? We should have the opposite. We should have skeptics of Islam in our fucking government, because Islam is not a good force in the world. Like, if you had somebody in there who was a weeb, who was kind of partisan for, Japanese women or some shit, yeah, okay, fine. Have them in the government. Just don't have them around, trade negotiations with Japan or something like that, where their partisanship might be a factor. But this guy is in charge of foreign policy and is a cuck to Islam. That's his only purpose. That's the only role he serves. He should have been one of the first people to fucking go. And he wasn't, by the way. It took him a while to get rid of this guy. And he's a fucking ideologue. He should have been one of the first people to fucking go. He doesn't think much of Trump. I don't think much of him.
The midterms are 52 days away, And we know what the Republicans are going to be running on: socialism. You can't vote for Democrats because they're socialists, and socialism is a work camp in Siberia. And one thing Republicans are really good at is they get in a room together, they come up with a line of bullshit, and they all repeat it over and over and over until even Tommy Lahren can do it.
So I'm not going to go on a long rant about what socialism is. There's two versions of it. There is democratic socialism and radical socialism. Radical socialism is a violent revolution of the so-called proletariat. It's by socialists. And democratic socialism is basically the Islam-style infiltration of government by people that want to take away your rights. It's basically the anti-founding fathers, people that are tyrants that want to lie to the public and lie good enough until they can gain control and then take away everybody's rights and enrich themselves. I hate socialists. I hate them. I think that they are one of the worst people out there. They are ultimately communists, but they are the lying communists. Like the communist who's out there on the street, the Antifa guy who's going to beat you in the head with a stick, that guy's at least honest in terms of being a radical, violent lunatic ideologue. The democratic socialist is the liar, is the person that wants to lie to you long enough to basically where they can get into power to enough degree where you have enough socialists in power to then that they can take away your rights and you're powerless to stop them. They're tyrants. And it should be said that that's the whole purpose of them. The whole purpose of socialism is to take away your property rights, which is the whole basis for why we even have a government, to protect our rights. That's why we have the government. It's not to do X, Y, and Z necessarily. It's to protect our rights, our individual rights. That was the entire purpose. That's what the Founding Fathers created. They sat down, they looked at the government, they realized that there was a problem with the Articles of Confederation and everything else that they did. Then they created the U.S. Constitution, ratified it with the Bill of Rights at the same time in 1791. And guess what? The whole basis of the government is to protect our rights. The foundation of which? Property rights. That's the foundation of even our rights, our individual rights as citizens. The bedrock. So, if you want to get rid of property rights, which is what all socialists want to do, all socialists want to get rid of your property rights, you want to get rid of the bedrock for why we even have a government. If you were to get elected into power and you had majority power and you started doing what you would naturally do, you would be a government that I could morally argue would be worth violently overthrowing, because you would be a tyrannical government. You would not be a government of the people. You would be a separate entity that is there just to oppress and steal. You know, conservatives can go on and on about, you know, welfare programs and and taxation as theft and all the rest. But the thing is that our government structure is not that we are slaves to the government. That is not the government structure that we have. But it could become that. If you were to elect socialists to those positions and they basically removed property rights and removed individual rights, of which socialists have no qualms telling you they want to get rid of Second Amendment, First Amendment, go down the line. They want to get rid of your civil liberties. They are anti-civil liberties activists. And guess what? Once they're in power, they have the ideological consent of their own conscience to just oppress you. That is who these fucking people are. And why people should be afraid of them. They should be afraid. You listening to this, you should actually be afraid of socialists, because they are fucking lunatics. They are lunatics that think oppressing you is them being compassionate. And I mean that. They actually think they are compassionate in that they want to oppress you and take away your rights. They are ideological zealots, foaming at the mouth, with the justification of their own conscience as they fucking oppress you. As they put a bullet in the back of your head and you roll into a mass grave, they believe that they are doing you a favor for the greater good. They're crazy, man. So yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the Republican Party is probably going to naturally fuck it up, which is what they always do. But this is something they could run on because, you know, drum roll, the Democratic Party is electing fucking socialists. The Democratic Party is, in fact, becoming more and more socialist. You see socialists coming out of Oregon, California, New York, You see socialists popping up here and there, and guess what? It's not National Socialists in the Republican Party. It is Internationalist Socialists in the Democratic Party. And guess what? They are, in fact, fucking scary. So yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense to campaign against that. It's happening, and it is scary.
This year, they even taught it to Trump.
And they want to raid Medicare to pay for socialism.
He really puts the moron in oxymoron, doesn't he? Remember back in 2009, the teabagger at the town hall who shouted, "Keep your government hands off my Medicare." Well, that dummy is now president. But I still don't hear Democrats explaining that Medicare is socialism.
So not really. This is actually wrong. Even socialized medicine or universal health care isn't technically socialist. It is socialistic in that it is government planned and you eliminate the private sector. But socialist in my mind would be you have a state hospital and you have a private hospital, and you have police or government agents that go into the private hospital, sack it, and then use the equipment and maybe they kidnap doctors, but they would take the stolen equipment and stolen personnel and put it in the state hospital. That is socialism. That is what actual socialism is. You rob private industry, you put it in state-run facilities. That is socialism. But the thing is that I can understand why conservatives would look at universal health care, the elimination of the private healthcare sector, and say that's socialism. It's socialistic. It has the qualities of socialism. But in my opinion, it's not actually socialism. Like I said, socialism would be the removal of private property rights. And I'm sure that if the government was tyrannical enough, if it wasn't robbing hospitals, but had very draconian laws revolving around doctors and medicine, maybe then it would be actual socialism, because it was so draconian, so overburdensome, so bureaucratic, so controlling, and only through the state, then yeah, it could actually be socialism. But the thing is, I don't want to look at the UK, Canada, etc., and just say, oh no, that is an error example of socialism. I don't want to do that, because I don't actually think that is true. You can maybe say it's socialistic because it is the elimination of the private sector, yeah, but it's not state hospitals kicking down the door of private hospitals, stealing private property. It is just an overly burdensome and very controlled and also tax-heavy social welfare program. You can have your criticisms of it. There are defenses of it. There are defenses of private health care. But I don't think it's fair to just look at universal health care and just go, that's socialism. Well, it could be, but it isn't necessarily. I've seen conservatives say that even the public option is socialistic. And it's like, yeah, because it is public sector and it is a public pool and it is through regulation and it is state run. But you still have a private healthcare industry that you are competing with. Maybe the government can set it up to create regulations that benefit the state-run healthcare and directly are a detriment to private sector healthcare, and that would be more socialistic. There's a lot of nuance here, but the thing is that I think both sides of this, with conservatives using the line of socialism too much, they have ruined the name to where you can have liberals basically calling universal healthcare socialism, or even Obamacare. But that's the thing, that you had conservatives calling Obamacare socialism when it was in some ways socialistic, but it wasn't socialism. It wasn't Barack Obama and government agents raiding private hospitals for medicine and for doctors. That is not what was occurring. There was the individual mandate, and there was the fact that it wasn't voluntary. That can be conceived of being socialistic, but it isn't the actual action of government stealing property. It is still creating laws, creating taxation, creating this, creating that. But again, okay, the individual mandate's gone. Was it actually then socialism? Now that it's gone, was it actually socialism? Now that you had a change in administration and boom, gone. Gone. If it was that easy to get rid of, was it actually socialism? That is my criticism of the right. I think you went way too far in your rhetoric. I think you could have made the argument that it was socialistic, that it was the bad direction. It is detrimental to people and healthcare and all the rest of the arguments you could have made. I think you went too far in your rhetoric, and now you got fucking retards out there thinking that people that want to take away your and my rights, they're equivalent to people that want universal healthcare. I think you went a bit too far in your rhetoric there, conservatives. And now you have basically lunatics putting their arm around Democratic shills and arguing that if you want universal health care, you are a socialist. And I don't agree. I don't agree that universal health care is the staple point of what defines socialism. I don't agree. Maybe people can hash this out in the comment section. Obviously, it's up to Bill Maher to be informed, and he is misinforming people with this. But I do think that conservatives had their part in this, in misinforming people and using too much rhetoric that was not actually substantive, and they relied on that than actually making fucking arguments.
And so are the other super popular programs like Social Security and the ban on denying coverage for pre-existing conditions.
Social Security can be perceived as socialistic. It is not socialist. It is not socialism. It is a public pension program. It is a retirement program for old people. Part of that is Medicare. It is not, I mean, this is the whole thing about FDR, you know, like, I don't even want to go into it. It's like, there's been plenty of conservative administrations, plenty of Republican administrations that have talked about the idea of privatizing Social Security, but that's only been in recent times, and it has been universally unpopular. I don't think that it's ever really going to happen through that avenue of just going out there and saying Social Security is fucking socialist, and people are just going to go, oh man, they're right, and that's going to be how it gets privatized. I guarantee you that's not going to be. If it ever is, that ain't going to be how it's done. So whatever.
Trump just gave farmers a $12 billion bailout to make up for his stupid tariffs. We took tax money from some people, mostly in New York and California, and gave it to fucking farmers. I mean farmers.
That is redistribution, but that is also not socialism. Government subsidies are not socialism. They are, by many conservatives' estimates, an unfair advantage in an economy. And I've listened to many conservatives say that, many who say over and over again they are against subsidies, they want to eliminate federal subsidies, they don't believe in subsidies and all the rest. I often find that is often the argument of conservatives, and then, okay, here's power, and they don't do it. That's my criticism of conservatives, is they argue over and over and over again that they are against subsidies, and they make coherent arguments for why subsidies are bad. And I agree that subsidies, government subsidies and government bailouts really fuck up the market oftentimes. But the thing is that, okay, here's power, now do it. And they never follow through. Gotta remember, man, I grew up under George W. Bush, who, you know, again, fucking, oh, the Democrats, oh, leftists, oh, by the way, banks, yeah, here's $1 trillion. Oh, Barack Obama did that. No, he didn't. You did. You did. Conservative Congress, Republican president was like, yeah, largest banks in the country, here's $1 trillion. Here you go. Fucking print that shit out. Here you go. Yeah, by the way, that was Barack Obama. That was the Democrats that did it. They didn't control Congress. They didn't control the White House when this was all started. But yeah, they did it. It was all them. Not the conservatives. Bullshit. Bullshit. This is the thing. Yeah, I'll just let that slide. But I agree with the conservative argument that subsidies can really fuck up an economy. I agree. Here's power. Now actually do it. And I just don't see it happen. But with Trump, with the bailouts to the farmers and the subsidies that he's given out, one, that's nothing new. That is nothing fucking new for our government. Two, it is the offset to tariffs. It is, as far as I can tell. Three, I support the tariffs. I support the tariffs. And if this is what's necessary to make these tariffs effective to offset the effects of the tariffs in our economy, at least the best effort of the government to offset them, I support them. Because I think it is absolutely necessary for us to really hold these foreign nations to account. I'll call it a trade war. I think we need to pursue the American interest in this trade war, and if that requires tariffs, and if that requires subsidies to private industry, I support that, because it is necessary. But don't worry, conservatives, I get it. Here's power, go. I'll just leave it at that.
Trump just gave farmers a $12 billion bailout to make up for his stupid tariffs. We took tax money from some people, mostly in New York and California, and gave it to fucking farmers. I mean farmers.
It's because you got Silicon Valley in California. You get rid of fucking your cheap labor and you get rid of Silicon Valley, and fucking California has nothing. Take, for example, another state, Texas, or a red state. Just take your random red state. If they did all the things necessary to attract those businesses, the businesses would uproot, go to those states, and then California would have fuck all. It's not because Democrat states are just naturally giving states and are naturally economic powerhouses. They're not naturally those things. Just look at, Democrat-controlled cities that are not economic hubs. And I'm not trying to make this a partisan thing. You're making this a partisan thing. There are plenty of poor-ass areas run by Republicans, plenty of poor-ass areas run by Democrats. Economics is not the only thing that makes a city great or makes an area great. There are red states that are direct contributors to the federal government. As far as I know, Texas is one of them. And redistribution, by the way, is not socialism, all right? Taxation is not socialism. I know you're going to get some autistic screeching by people who are conservatives and libertarians, blah, 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 and caps. But, okay, how the fuck do we pay for Border Patrol? How the fuck do we pay for ICE? How the fuck do we pay for the military and federal agencies and blah, 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 blah? How do we pay for any of these things if we don't have some amount of taxation? I've met plenty of libertarians that are not, that at least espouse that they are not fucking lunatics, and that they are fine with the military, they're fine with the border, they're fine, they are the type of minarchist where they want to seriously limit the amount of government entities that exist, but they still support taxation, involuntary taxation, for military, police, prisons, at least I think, but Border Patrol and the rest of the things that can only be handled through public sector. And I'm sorry, ANCAPs and anarcho-communists, if we don't have some of these services, we don't have a society. We're going to be living in fucking actual anarchy, which is 5 seconds until the guy with the guns, or the guy with the money and the guns, takes over, and then we just have autocracy. And I'll sit here and I'll talk to you about autocracy, because that can actually work. It's not moral, but it does work. But anarchism doesn't work. Doesn't work. It's 5 seconds. It's okay. All the systems and all the things that are necessary to enforce laws are gone. Okay, we're now in anarchy and everyone's killing each other. Yeah, I'm now the tyrant. I'll protect you, but you got to do whatever I say. And you don't really have any rights. Whatever your rights are or whatever I say they are. But I'll protect you. And I'm going to kill all the anarchists. So that way they're no longer a problem. Okay, now we live in an autocracy. And it's now functional. That's kind of a tangent. But yeah, autocracies work. Autocracy works. Anarchism doesn't work. And in order for us to live in anything other than, if we want to live in anything that isn't shit, you're going to have some fucking redistribution, okay? Taxation has to exist. God.
That's socialism. Socialism is the reason you don't have to bring your own highway when you want to drive somewhere.
Oh my fucking God. You can build roads with private contractors. However, I agree, roads should be a public service paid through by tax dollars. I don't believe in toll roads and whatever the fucking drivel. But they're not socialism. You can have an utterly free society, an utterly minarchist society, where you just have taxes going to private contractors to build and maintain the fucking roads. They are not socialism. For Christ's sake.
It's why there's a fire department to show up when you're burning Nike spread to the house.
Many fire departments are fucking voluntary. Whatever. Whatever. If you were talking about police and all these other things, you would actually, I mean, you wouldn't be right, but at least you'd be talking about taxation and what it goes to. But with like voluntary fire departments, it's voluntary. It's like looking at voluntary police, auxiliary police. That's socialism. No! No! Just stop, Bill Maher. God damn. And the thing is he dumb or is he lying? Is he dumb or is he lying? I honestly have to ask the question because this is so stupid. This is so patently stupid. I honestly think he might be just lying. I don't want to think he's this dumb.
The U.S. military does more socialism by 9 a.m. than Venezuela does all day.
My mom always said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Oh my fucking God. Oh my, how do I even respond to that? How do I even respond that the United States military is not socialist in the way that Venezuela is? Okay, here's the example. You have U.S. soldiers trying to make sure that industry is not raided. You have military protecting the property rights of citizens versus in Venezuela where the soldiers are stealing private property, are stealing people's property and wealth. That's the difference. American soldiers protecting industry, Venezuelan soldiers robbing them, sacking industry, occupying industry. That's the fucking difference. Holy fucking shit. It's not about that they are government programs. It is how they are acting. It is what they are doing. Oh my. We're just moving on. We're just moving on. I haven't had a coffee. I need a coffee. And this is just a mess. This is just a mess. How easy of an example that you can give. Again, the difference. Government agents saying, hey, you criminal, drop that person's property. You don't do it, boom, 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 you're dead. This person violated your rights. That's why I shot them. That's why I used force. I used force against them because they stole your property. They violated your rights, and I was trying to return your property. That's the purpose of these government agencies, to guarantee rights. Venezuela, hey you, give me your property. Give me your wealth, or else I'm going to shoot you. That's the difference. That is literally the difference. It is the government seizing property versus the government doing its best, not always ideally, to protect people's rights. It's that simple. Jesus fucking Christ, Bill Maher.
We build weapons that even the Pentagon says it doesn't want. That's a jobs program. Socialism. You're soaking in it.
I will agree that the Pentagon is a black hole where our taxpayer dollars go to, where they are never heard from again, and no one knows what fucking happens. No one knows. Bring in your quantum physicists to have a look at the Pentagon. They won't figure it out. It is a Byzantine, labyrinthine complex that exists for tax dollars to get sucked into, and no one knows where they go. And that is, by all appearances, intentional. And I think that we need to try to do what we can in our society through Congress to restrain spending in the Pentagon, through the DOD, and in our military. Doesn't mean we don't have the biggest military in the world, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't mean it has a direct purpose. But I do think there's a problem with the Pentagon, with our military, with the DOD, in terms of our tax dollars and waste is the best way that you can describe it. Lining the pockets of lobbyists and private companies that wouldn't exist without tax dollars and no-bid contracts and all the rest of the corruption that exists. You're not going to get anyone, I think, to defend the fucking Pentagon outside of retards who are going to go like, oh no, every dollar that's going to the Pentagon is being well spent. It ain't. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows that there's a problem with waste as it relates to military spending, defense spending. But doesn't make it socialist. Is it a jobs program? Maybe so. There might be an argument for that. But it is a necessary thing. We need to have the largest military in the world in order to retain hegemony, period. But also, that is not socialist. I'm reiterating myself. We're not going to the rest of the world, at least unless you look at Iraq. We're not going to the rest of the world and we're not saying, hey guys, give us your fucking property. We're not ransacking nations. You know, putting Iraq aside. We're not ransacking nations, and even there we tried. You know, George W. Bush, with him looking like a retard, you know, in the caption, we tried, with a question mark. Who knows? Iraq was a clusterfuck. But, in large part, if you look at, let's say, Vietnam, Korea, a whole bunch of other wars, we're not there to ransack the nation. We're not there to get rich. We're not there for any other reason than to contain socialism. That was the big problem in Vietnam and Korea, was containing socialism. You might say, oh no, that's actually communism. Is it? Is it? Is it communism, or was it radical socialism at the time? I think it was radical socialism, in fact. And that's what we were trying to contain. You know why? Because they were running around the country murdering people for the proletariat. They were going to redistribute that wealth to the proletariat, the party. And they were killing people for it, and we went right in to protect those people in the name of liberty and property rights and protected rights, not tyranny and socialism. So once again, our military, in its ideal, is protectors of property rights and liberty, not Venezuelan actors, Cuban actors, and Chinese actors who are out there trying to seize property and take away people's rights. They're an oppressive military force. Militaries can be used for liberation, such as in France, or occupation and oppression, such as in Cuba, Vietnam, just go down the line. China, just go down the line. Go down the line. Soviet Union, go down the line. The Eastern Bloc. Look at all those nations that are occupied by the Soviets. They're occupied in the name of socialism and of tyranny and oppression, not in the name of liberty. That's why you see all these Eastern Europeans now that are really woke on the issue of socialism. They're not in favor of socialism. You know why? They fucking lived under it. And it's not great. It's, in fact, awful.
Even Trump voters like their government goodies. So why can't Democrats all get in a room and come out with a single answer to the scary socialism charge? This is the attack on us. And Democrats' response is, I would say crickets, but crickets make some noise. There is a wholly compromised Russian asset in the White House. You can't make a little political hay out of that.
Oh, God. Just end me now. Just end my fucking life. We're going back to the whole fucking Russia thing. That is fucking Bill Maher's response. That's Bill Maher's response. The Democrats are, in fact, electing fucking socialists. That is, in fact, happening. Your response to that is, Trump is fucking Putin's puppet, blah, 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 blah. 2 years! 2 years, and this is all you got. Oh, God, just end it now. Just end me. I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. Fucking Russia. Fucking Russia. Fucking Putin. Putin is to the right of the people you are fucking electing. You are the fucking socialist now. He isn't. God. God, the big, spooky, scary fucking Soviet Union. You're the fucking socialists! Oh, man. Russia, so spooky, scary, with its tiny-ass economy, its old-ass military, and its vague nationalism. Oh, my God. I'm so afraid of fucking Russia and the $100,000 spent on fucking Facebook. So scared of that. I'm so scared that Russia owns the American president who has done nothing, done absolutely nothing. Name me one thing, one policy, one anything that shows that Trump has directly benefited Putin or Russia. Anything, 2 years. 2 years of policies, go. Give me one fucking thing. There's nothing. I've even seen criticism to say that Trump has been unnecessarily harsh with the Russians. I've also seen people say that he has been adequately harsh. But I have not seen any evidence to say that fucking Trump is out there actually helping Russia in any way. In any way. With anything. Anything. Nothing. All you got is rhetoric. That's all you got. Rhetoric and rhetoric. Oh man, I'm convinced. Your rhetoric is so compelling. More compelling than evidence or the lack thereof. Please stop. Please stop. I am a registered Democrat. I remain a registered Democrat. If I remain one, can you please, for the love of God and for the life of me, I twisted the two there, just stop with this fucking line of bullshit. 2 years of this shit. 2 years. Coming up on fucking 3. And I just want it to end. I just want this to end. Okay. Bill Maher. Are you going to spend the next fucking 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes talking about Trump and Russia? I am going to skip it if you do that. I'm going to skip it and say as much in this video. But for the love of God, do you have anything else other than Trump-Russia? Anything else for a message for November for Democrats? Anything else?
2 very boring minutes later.
The Democrats, as usual, are making a molehill out of a mountain. The FBI, the CIA, the Department of Justice, especially here on 9/11 week. Let's remember, these are the thousands and thousands of America's most dedicated public servants.
Bill Maher made his reputation on attacking the Iraq War, on calling out the Iraq War as bullshit, on us being lied to. And here he is, oh, the fucking CIA. Let me get on my knees. The fucking CIA. Oh my fucking God, Bill Maher. You are the worst. You are just the fucking worst. I fucking hate you. God, you are such a fucking sellout. You are such a fucking sellout, dude. Oh my God. I can't stand you. I fucking hate you. CIA, the federal agencies that have been doing nothing but lying and spying on us. Lying to us and spying on us. That's what they've been doing. You made your reputation on this. You made your bones. You got kicked off the air for talking about the Iraq War. I mean, do I need to go look? I'm not even going to go look up the footage. Not even going to go look up the footage. Not going to. You spoke out against the Iraq War, against the bullshit, why we're there, and here you are going, fucking the federal government and the CIA. Oh my God. I just can't take it. I just can't fucking take it anymore. That's the rest of this video, by the way. That's the rest of this fucking video. Trump is a Russian asset and fucking CIA. You could suck me off while you're at it there, fucking Bill Maher, with your shit. Jesus Christ. It's just unbelievable to watch this shit. Again, I've been aware of this guy for years and years, and to watch him now is just, I can't stand watching him, by the way. I very rarely watch him for this reason. I fucking can't stand watching him anymore. Holy shit, he is one of the worst actors now in terms of just being a fucking professional shill. He's terrible. And who buys this shit? Who buys this shit? All I know, Bill, and I can tell you this, is you can put up the biggest neocon, the biggest internationalist, the biggest Clintonite, or the biggest socialist to run in 2020 against Trump. You will force me to vote for him. I will show up in the voting booth and say to myself, I have no option other than to vote for Trump. Out of necessity, to vote against whoever the fuck you put forward. Because I am not an internationalist, I am not a Clintonite, I am not a neocon, and I am not a socialist. And because of those reasons, I have no choice but to vote for Donald Trump. you have to, well, you won't, so I'm wasting my breath. But enough people have to understand that there is a reason why people voted for Donald Trump. And you are not making the case for why people should. You are, in fact, making the case for why people should. I have been consistent throughout my life. I didn't like the bailouts. I've never liked Wall Street. I don't like investors and never have. I don't like the government agencies that lie to the public. I don't like them. I don't believe them. I don't trust them. They've never shown me any reason why I should. I understand the practical purposes for why they should exist. Blah, blah, blah. Give me a reason to trust them. Give me the reason. Show me the reform. Show me the changes made. That way I can now believe them. Because I don't just believe agencies that have previously lied to me over and over and over again to get soldiers killed for nebulous ends in which, in the end, we failed to even achieve those nebulous ends. I am not in favor of agencies that lie to us and get citizens killed and get hundreds of thousands of innocents killed for seemingly no reason, to no end. I'm not out there, I'm not out there shilling and hawking for those agencies. I'm not. And that has been something that has been true of me since 2003. And I'm 28 years old. Okay? It's been true for that long, since 2003. So, my mind hasn't been convinced. You need to change my mind. Hashtag change my mind about the fucking CIA. There, Bill Maher. I don't just believe them because they're our fucking spy agency. That doesn't mean anything to me. They're part of our federal bureaucracy. That's why I should believe them. No! No, I don't. I don't believe them. I am entirely skeptical of them for fucking good reason. You were once too when you didn't have a completely self-interested, invested interest in being defensive of them and not skeptical of them. God, you're such a fucking shill and a partisan and a liar. Oh, I'll leave it there. I've had enough. Hopefully this commentary didn't turn out to be shit and you enjoy it. But Bill Maher, ladies and gentlemen, holy Christ. He is terrible. Thanks for listening.